Because of the economic downturn, people are actively looking for other ways, better ways, not just in the legal field, but in every arena. The do-it-yourself movement has taken off in many different ways.
I assume that people who proceed on a pro se basis are probably people who have decided they're not willing to forego the claim, but they can't afford to hire a lawyer. It's not a matter of choice, it's a matter of necessity.
Who can outwit the other and who can spend more on legal proceedings. And that is where most Americans really don't have access to the justice system. Most of them are outpriced.
I was extremely passionate about the issue, and I wanted to go to court. And secondly, I'm a poor man. I've put 6 kids through college and university, and then got my PhD at the age of 50, and I don't have any money left. But I'm also an educated man, and I figured out I can figure out how to write a court case. I don't need a lawyer to do this.
Every individual have greater access to the courthouse, which means not just being able to walk up the steps and see the inside. It means having equal access to the legal system so that you can represent yourself or be with a party who's representing themselves and be taken seriously. And secondly, to have access to information. Right now, information is hoarded.
I would liken it metaphorically to the medical profession. And there are some things that people can treat themselves. For example, there's various medications that are now available over the counter that used to be prescription. If you have heartburn, you can buy Prilosec. However, you can't remove your own appendix. So the same is true in the legal setting.
As I climbed the hill toward Morristown Courthouse on that January morning, I never felt so alone in my life. My reputation, my livelihood, and my ability to support myself were on the line, and I was representing myself against one of the biggest companies in the world. After hundreds of hours of preparation, I was eager for justice, but then the unthinkable happened. My case was dropped on summary judgment, and I was facing a judgment of almost $100,000 in attorney's fees. At that moment, I thought, going pro se is like carrying a loaded gun that you don't know how to use. It can easily be turned against you, and in the end, the results can be devastating. But what's the alternative? How can the average person access justice when he or she cannot afford the price of admission?
No, not all of them. I'll say this, I don't think that the level of instability or personality disorder is any higher or lower in the represented population than the unrepresented population. I'll assume that the factor that levels them is an economic one. And so I would say no. I think they're just as uncrazy and just as crazy as everybody else.
The more legally complex it is, the more difficult it's going to be for a pro se litigant, and especially if the opposition, let's say some big company that can well afford counsel and has high quality counsel representing them, that's going to be a very difficult case. So, but on the other hand, there are some cases where the issues are issues of fact. Who said what? Who did what? A person of the proper temperament can perhaps handle things like that as well as anybody
So if we can educate the public to the alternatives that are available to them, and educate them to understand that perhaps a trial is not the best way to achieve justice in their matter.
Unbundled legal services. I take it to mean that people who seek out legal services may need one of a dozen things from an attorney. They may need just a consultation initially to set them on a path. They may need a coach to call or email or text or come in periodically to review, get some data, and then go back out. Kind of knowledge is power. Now they've got more knowledge and more power to go do their own thing. They may be negotiating on their own. They may be litigating on their own.
What people who are trying to persuade more of us to do to settle proceedings through what's called alternate dispute resolutions, typically meaning arbitration. The advantage is you don't need a lawyer. You can come in and tell your story, and the reason you can do that is the normal rules of evidence do not apply. Things like hearsay are routinely accepted.
We work very hard to educate our clients and to involve them in the process. It cannot be blind justice.
But the idea of justice is still a central one for people. And a lot of the work that I do with clients and prospective clients is in helping them to assess, what does justice mean for you in this situation?
I think people are much more satisfied when you work hand in hand with them. I think the same is true of the medical profession nowadays, where our parents and grandparents just accepted what their doctor said. Now we do a little bit of online research ourselves, and the same is true of the legal system.